After Richard's wife Naomi passed away, he never thought he would become a dad. But unexpectedly, he had a chance to adopt a homeless boy named Daniel. Richard brought Daniel home, and they lived together happily for 2 months. One day, while doing the laundry, Richard found a wedding ring in Daniel's pocket. He couldn't believe it because he hadn't seen the ring in 10 years. He was sure it was Naomi's old wedding ring. Richard wondered how Daniel got hold of it because he knew it wasn't in the house. Naomi had taken it with her when she passed away. Richard was still deeply saddened by his wife Naomi's death, which had occurred about a decade ago. They had made numerous plans for their future together, plans that would never come true now. While most of these plans were easier for him to move on from, one continued to haunt his thoughts every single day: their dream of having children together. When they got married, they immediately started trying to have a baby but had no success. After much thought, Richard decided to explore alternative options. While adopting children as a single father was not common and went against the usual procedures, he was determined to find another way. Richard spent days contemplating his choices, feeling despondent. Then, unexpectedly, he saw someone that felt like a sign from fate. A young boy was sitting on the side of the street, holding a sign and asking for help. Richard felt a strong inner calling, as if he was meant to step in. The boy couldn't have been older than 12, perhaps even younger. Richard wondered how such a young child could end up alone on the street with no one to care for him. He greeted the boy with a smile and sat down beside him. Though the boy was initially confused and hesitant, unsure if he could trust Richard, they carefully shook hands, and the boy introduced himself as Daniel. This was the final sign for Richard, as Daniel was actually the name he and Naomi would have wanted to give their firstborn son if they were to be blessed like that. He wanted nothing more now than to win this young boy's trust. He had been there before, and he absolutely hated it. He would rather stay on the street, but he did not want to tell Richard how he ended up on the street in the first place. He told the boy his own story about his late wife and that he wanted to adopt a child, but no agency would help him. Eventually, he told the boy that he wanted to adopt him. Daniel agreed, but after recovering from the initial surprise, Daniel actually did not have to think long about Richard's offer. He stuck out his hand and told him that he would love to be adopted by Richard. Richard himself could, of course, not be happier. He went from having no chance of ever becoming a father to suddenly having a son. It was almost too good to be true. There was, of course, still a long way to go for the pair, but Richard was confident that he would be able to cross every difficult bridge when they got to it. As they sat down to eat, the clinking of cutlery and the warmth from the hearth seemed to wrap around them. A gentle embrace of new beginnings. Daniel's eyes widened with the first bite, a mixture of surprise and contentment that mirrored the family dinners of Richard's memories under the early evening sky. The kitchen table became their sanctuary of learning. Richard, with patient explanations, helped Daniel grapple with algebraic formulas and historic dates. The furrow between Daniel's brows eased with each solved equation, a reflection of the trust that bloomed with every shared problem. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, Richard caught a look in Daniel's eye, a way of frowning when concentrating or a small smirk, and he would be struck by a sense of déjà vu. It was like glancing at Naomi through a mirror of time. These reflections weren't just fleeting images, they were pieces of a puzzle that Richard was slowly, perhaps subconsciously, piecing together. Each one contributed to the growing picture of a mysterious and deepening bond. Sometimes, while watching families in the park, Daniel would fall silent, his eyes tracing the interactions with a mixture of wistfulness and desire. These moments of longing did not escape Richard's notice. They spoke of a child's yearning for what was absent, for the familial bond that Daniel now sought with Richard. Daniel's stories of his early years were like brushstrokes on a canvas, depicting a life full of color and emotion. While tidying Daniel's room, Richard's hand brushed against a small framed photo tucked away in the drawer. It was Naomi, her eyes as lively in the photo as they were in his memory. The discovery sent a pulse through him, a flicker of connection that tied the present moment to a past long gone. How did Daniel come to possess this image of a woman he should have no memory of? The image of her, so familiar and yet now laced with mystery, stirred a sea of questions in Richard's mind. What thread connected Daniel to Naomi, and why was it kept hidden? If Daniel and Naomi were connected, what did that mean for all the years of love and loss? Richard's breath hitched as he pulled the unmistakable band of gold from Daniel's pocket, the very ring he had slipped onto Naomi's finger all those years ago. How had this token, heavy with memories and promises, found its way into the hands of a boy who shouldn't know its way? The ring was a symbol of their shared past, but now it was a catalyst for doubt. The weight of it in his palm was a testament to the gravity of the questions it posed. The silence broke like glass when Richard presented the ring to Daniel, whose eyes widened with recognition. Richard's world spun as he learned the truth, that Daniel was the son of Naomi, born from an affair wrapped in secrecy. His knees felt weak. The revelation was a chasm that threatened to swallow him whole. Daniel's words painted a picture of Naomi's life, one Richard had never known, a tapestry of love, betrayal, and desperation. It was as if Naomi had risen from the dead, her presence now a ghostly whisper through Richard's shock. As Richard read the woman he knew, the woman he loved became a stranger. That Naomi could fabricate her own death and leave a son in the shadows was a wound reopened, raw and bleeding. It was a narrative spun from the threads of pain and surprise, of love lost and found. They were not just father and son, but the keepers of Naomi's legacy, and together they started to mend the tears in the fabric of their lives. Richard and Daniel carefully read the letters, finding comfort in the honest things Naomi wrote. The letters gave them a peek into Naomi's feelings, connecting the gap she had left behind. Together, Richard and Daniel pieced together Naomi's life, which had been a mystery to them. Each memory and decision she made was like a puzzle piece, helping them understand her life better. With their past now uncovered, Richard and Daniel looked ahead to the future. They allowed themselves to grieve for what they had lost and to be angry about the secrets they discovered. But they also celebrated the unexpected happiness of their strong bond. Holding hands, they moved forward into a new chapter, determined to follow a path guided by the truth. Together, they weathered the storm of truth, finding peace and understanding in each other. As they gazed toward the future, their relationship showed the power of love and forgiveness. The story of Naomi, Richard, and Daniel wasn't a sad one. It was a complicated picture of life filled with resilience and hope.